All right, we'll go ahead and get the meeting started. I'm David Jones. I'm president of Queen City Toastmasters, and welcome to our guests and all of our members. Should have a good meeting tonight. As you see, it's kind of an odd meeting with it being on hybrid. And for those of you on Zoom, we just had a gentleman stop by. He was the president of his Toastmasters club in state of Washington. And he's driving by and he saw the Toastmasters sign. So he just came in and say hello, and then he left because he had a meeting to go to. So that was kind of cool to have him. And I don't see any guests. No, we don't have any guests online, but we do have a couple of guests in person. So I just wanted to introduce them and ask them how they heard about us and what their intent is with Toastmasters. So we'll start with, I believe, Daniel. Is that your name? Yeah. And just how'd you hear about us? And introduce yourself to them and us.
Should I go here or
they can hear you?
Hello, everybody. So my name is Daniel, and basically I joined Toastmasters because I always had this weird fear of presenting in front of like big group of people. So I'm here to practice as much as I can, give presentations about different topics, and basically nice to meet you all. So I'm looking forward to work with this group of people. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jalon. I did Toastmasters about 10 years ago, and I stopped going because of college. So I didn't, I stopped going to college. So then I, stopped Toastmasters, and I never found another Toastmaster. So today I said, my goal is to find one. I found it today. I said at 6:30, and now I'm here. So I want to improve my speaking, and I stutter a lot. So I want to make sure I practice speaking and not saying like and those little things that make you not a good speaker.
We came to the right place. As you know, this is the oldest Toastmasters in Charlotte, and we're a great group. And so welcome for coming. And I think with that, we have one more guest coming in. I want to see if this is somebody I invited. I went camping with somebody this weekend. She's from New York. She did not like camping, but she said she wanted to come join us, see if this is her. Nope, that is not her. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster of the night, Nathalie. And Nathalie, you can take it away.
Thank you, David. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's my pleasure to be your Toastmaster this evening. And our theme was very fortuitously revealed to me. So I decided Monday, when I saw the Toastmaster role yesterday open, that I would take the leap, building momentum from last week's theme and just pulling the trigger. So I reached out to David and I said, if there's not a Toastmaster, I'll take it. And I signed up, and his immediate question was, so what's your theme? And I hadn't really thought that far ahead, to be quite honest. So I said, I don't know. And then a few minutes later, I said, well, I actually think that's my theme. I don't know. And the reason that after saying I don't know, and it sparked for a moment when I told David I didn't know, I felt like all this pressure to have it figured out and then to organize a perfect meeting for us today. And I didn't have that in between space really. And when I took a step back, I said, well, it's okay not to know sometimes. We have a lot of pressure in society to have things figured out, to be perfect, and it doesn't always have to be that way. I've been following a lot of spiritual teachers. As some of you might know, I'm very into meditation and yoga, and both from the spiritual to the scientific side, folks like Eckhart Tolle and even Dr. Joe Dispenza both talk about the power of uncertainty and stepping into the unknown, and how when you are in the unknown, you have the potential to truly create and expand your life. It's the opportunity to step out of your comfort zone. And so I've been embracing doing a lot more of I don't know. And as some of you also know, last year I moved to Charlotte in May, so May of 2020. I decided to take a break and step away from my corporate career because my father had been battling cancer for the last 2 years, and he actually just restarted chemo yesterday. And I felt like it was an important chapter in my life that I wouldn't really get the opportunity to do over. So while I'd spent 15 years building a great career in public relations and communications, I didn't know what would come next, but I felt that my next right move was to move to Charlotte and be with family. And I gave myself the opportunity last year to take on freelance projects and, for the most part, not work, explore hobbies and interests. And just 2 weeks ago, I started a new job, and I didn't know where and when that would come from. But one of the mantras that I also live by is I have everything I need right when I need it. So I wanted to find out if maybe any of you have ever experienced an I don't know moment where you had uncertainty, but in the end, it all worked out. Would anybody like to share?
We have somebody in person, Jalon, hold on a second.
Get the lights on, or let's go. Okay. Well, actually, my I don't know moment is now, because I just quit my job like last week. So I do have like another business on the side, and I do have other income, but I still need more. So right now I'm in a I don't know moment, but I'm staying positive. I'm meditating. I started meditating. So those are different things that I'm doing and just trying to figure it out. So I am right now currently in a I don't know moment.
I love that so much for sharing with us, and congratulations on making that big leap. And I hope you'll keep coming back to Toastmasters so that we could follow along with your journey. On that note, I'm going to hand it over to Elvis, who is our inspiration master this evening / joke master.
Hi, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I hope you don't hear the background noise that I have, some sort of a fan that just started. Well, hopefully you can hear me. So, going with the theme of tonight, I don't know, there's a famous saying from Shakespeare. He wrote, "The fool does think he's wise, but the wise man knows himself to be a fool." So try starting from the assumption that you don't know. For a leader to admit when you don't have all the answers is just an opportunity to engage, especially with your team. When you say, "I don't know, but I'll try to figure it out. Can you help me out? I wish I had all the answers, but I'm trying to." And when you express yourself and admit with that vulnerability, that helps you engage with your team to see yourself in a different way. And that also helps in the process of getting better decisions. When you stop and try to find out very curiously, admitting that you don't have all the answers. So the first and next time you are asked about something you don't immediately know the answer, try to starting with, "I don't know." Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Elvis. I love that. You know, we need certainty at times in our lives, but I was also listening to Tony Robbins recently share how at times certainty can derail us and really keep us in our comfort zone and not allow us to thrive. And I think, as you said, it takes such courage and vulnerability to admit that you don't know something. And I feel like it allows you to connect with folks more because it shows that human side of you. So tonight I also reached out to David, and my intention was to be live in the room with everyone, but my boss asked for a project request last minute, and so I had to follow through, and I didn't know if I would make it on time. And so I felt like the right call for me was to log on to Zoom so that there would be a Toastmaster this evening. And admitting that you don't know and don't always have the right solution, I think, is important as a leader, and adapting and adjusting. So thank you for sharing that with us this evening. Now I want to hand it over to Stuart, who will be our grammarian tonight.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and honoured guests. As grammarian, it is my role to pay close attention to speakers and know any use of improper language or filler words, and to also take note of any outstanding words, phrases, or thoughts used. For today's meeting, the word of the day is composure, and that can be defined as the state or feeling of being calm and in control of oneself. And like Nathalie, I actually chose this word because at the last minute today, I was put on a client call before I had decided what the word of the day would be. So I felt like this was appropriate. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. When called upon by the Toastmaster, I will produce the grammarian's report as well as a report on the usage of the word of the day. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Stuart. That's an excellent word of the evening, composure. I try to practice composure and keeping calm. Our next role for the evening is Jamie, who will be our timer.
Because you got to show it. And here's Jamie.
All right. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Greeting, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I will be keeping time for today's speakers today. That includes the table topic conversations that we'll get to shortly. That includes the, I'm looking over here, no one can see me. That includes the individual speeches or the formal speeches, as well as the individual evaluations. I'll be using this lovely electronic alert system that's a green, yellow, red indicator to help the speakers stay on track for their times. For the table topics, that means I'll provide a green alert at the 1 minute mark, yellow for 1:30, and then red for 2 minutes. For the formal speeches, those will all be 5 to 7 minutes. That will be a green alert at 5 minutes, yellow at 6, and red at 7. And for the individual evaluations, that will be 2 to 3 minutes. So green at 2, yellow at 2:30, and red at 3. And then when called upon, I will also provide a summary of how the speakers performed against those target timeframes. So back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jamie. And now, without further ado, the exciting part of the evening, we have 2 speakers this evening. Our first is Lan, who is joining us from the Dynamic Leadership Pathway on her level 1 project, and her speech is entitled, "Why Do We Get Stress?" Please join me in welcoming Lan.
Thank you, Madam Toastmasters. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Lon, and by a show of hands, how many of you have been through a stressful situations or are going through a stressful situations as of right now? Okay, all hands should be raised, and if you didn't, you're probably lying. So for tonight's speech, I wanted to touch on the topics of why do we get stressed? And there are many reasons as to why we get stressed. And one of them is a way of our body's response to pressure. And that is when you're overwhelmed with responsibilities, such as when you have a project deadline that is due soon and you're trying to figure out how you're going to do it, and you have your boss keep asking you when you're going to get it done, and you should get it done soon. You have a short period amount of time. Another thing is when you're switching jobs. Now that could be exciting. You get to meet new people, new roles, and all of that, new opportunities. However, with new opportunities, there are new tasks, new skills, and expectations that you may have, and that could create a lot of pressures. My second point is when you feel like you have no control over the outcome. And this, I feel like any one of us can relate to it. It's when you have no control over people's reactions. You can say this or that, but people can disagree with you, and that's okay, because then you don't have to be responsible for their actions. So that's the good part. In addition to that, time of uncertainty. And I did hear a lot of things from some of our guests and as well as fellow Toastmasters tonight that we are experienced in a times of uncertainty, and that's okay. And you just got to let it go with the flow. And my last point is feeling lost. Feeling lost, when you have that kind of feeling like you have no purpose in life. And I didn't do a research on this, but based on what I've experienced and a few folks that I have talked to, it could happen to a range of age gaps, but mostly for people that are in their 20s and kind of 30s. And especially if you're going into college, trying to figure out what you want to major in. And when you do finally figure out what you want to major in, you change your mind because you didn't like it, or you do like it, you get to your senior year and then realize, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out, are there any jobs options out there? What can I do with this major as far as jobs? And that can create a lot of anxiety, and you may feel or behave a certain way, such as frustrated, depressed. You may withdraw yourself from other folks, snap at people. I've done it a couple of times. Smoking, you may start smoking, or you may even cry yourself to sleep. Now, for the past few minutes, I have been talking about the negative points of being stressed. And stress itself, just the word itself, is negative. But are there any actually positive impacts? Perhaps. And there is. And there is a statement online that I pulled up, and I forgot where I got it from, but it's from Google, I promise. And it says, stress can actually serve an important purpose and can even help you survive. For our ancestors, stress was a helpful motivator for survival, allowing them to avoid physical threats. And I think I can agree on that, because stress can actually motivate and push you to your full potential. For instance, I'll give you an example. For me, giving this speech tonight was kind of stressful, not because I didn't think I could do it, but because I kept procrastinating. But thanks to Balut's last speech, it encouraged me and motivated me to just go ahead and do it. And matter of fact, to be honest with you guys, I don't think I'll ever be ready to stand up in front of you guys. So I was like, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do it, get it over with. And I'm excited for my next speech, which I hope to focus on my body language. And I want to leave you guys tonight with this. Be honest with yourself. Stop telling yourself that you're this and you're that when you're not. Create realistic goals. And last but not least, find hobbies or activities that you like to do. Back to you, Madam Toastmasters.
Thank you, Lon. You know, if you wouldn't have told us you were stressed, I mean, I couldn't tell. You did an excellent job. And I definitely have felt stressed and lost my composure. So I appreciated the tips and insights that you gave us, and I'm going to be applying them in the future when encountering a stressful situation. Now we have the pleasure of I have the pleasure of introducing our second speaker, who is a seasoned veteran of Toastmaster and our former club president, Vanessa, who is joining us on the Innovative Leadership Pathway. And this is a level 2 speech. Her speech is entitled A Shruin for a Toastmaster Speech. Please join me in welcoming Vanessa.
Thank you, Natalie. First, before I jump into my story tonight, Toastmasters and guests, I want to describe an animal to you. And as I'm describing this animal, I'd like everyone to picture in their mind what they think it is. This creature is really small. In fact, it can fit in the palm of your hand. It has a long tail. It has a short coat of fur to protect it from the elements. And it has tiny little round ears. So how many people, as I was describing that, pictured a mouse or maybe a rat? Okay, I see some hands, both on Zoom and in person. Well, that's pretty close, and I certainly don't blame you for guessing that. But in fact, the animal I am talking about is more closely related to an elephant than it is to a mouse. That sounds a little crazy, but I'm going to screen share and show you a picture of this creature. This creature is called an elephant shrew. Now you can probably tell from those on Zoom who can see the picture, and hopefully people in person can as well. This little creature got its name from its long snout, kind of like an elephant's trunk. Now, why am I talking about elephant shrews at a Toastmasters meeting? You know, before I planned this speech, it was hard for me to keep my composure thinking about a funny speech topic like this because it seems so ridiculous. But then I thought, you know what? This story really for me is about creativity. And I know that this is such a creative group. We come to Toastmasters every week. We come up with creative speeches and evaluations. And this elephant shrew relates to my journey of understanding more about creativity. One of my creative hobbies, besides Toastmasters, is I will make greeting cards for my family members for holidays and Christmas, birthdays, things like that. And this year, I was really struggling with a Father's Day card for my dad. I don't know why, but for some reason, my ideas just weren't feeling exciting. I felt like I was in the middle of the creative doldrums. And in case a future grammarian would like to use this as a word of the day, the doldrums is a sailing term that I learned recently, and it talks about ships being stuck in the doldrums. They're in the middle of the ocean, and there just isn't enough wind to carry that boat forward. And that's how I felt. I felt like my ideas were not propelling me forward, and this greeting card was so much harder than it needed to be. Then I remembered a video I'd seen about this elephant shrew. It was a nature documentary. And I thought maybe I should do something related to this shrew for my card. Now, I'd also had a weird dream about a hybrid creature that was kind of a cross between this elephant shrew and an aardvark. It was a really strange dream. And at first, this whole idea of this weird creature with a long nose, I was like, no, I am not doing anything like this for my Father's Day card. That is too weird. It has nothing to do with Father's Day, and I surely have better ideas than this one. Now, spoiler alert, I did end up making a card related to this strange elephant shrew, but I'm glad that I did in the end because I learned that I was kind of accepting some roadblocks in my creative process. The first one was, it's too weird. The second one was, it's not logical. It has no relation to what I'm trying to do. And finally, the third roadblock I had to overcome was, I've got other ideas. Surely I can come up with something better. But I'm glad I got over those roadblocks because I'm going to share a picture of the final result, a little snapshot of my Father's Day card. And as you can see, it's highly inspired by the real life elephant shrew / aardvark. Pretty weird. But I wanted to share this story because I thought it was so helpful. I hadn't realized how much I spent time dismissing ideas that were actually really worthwhile considering. And I had to go through really carefully and think through why these creative roadblocks weren't really relevant. Starting with the very first one, this idea is too weird. I thought to myself, how many works of art exist in the world that are objectively pretty strange? Well, a lot of artwork is considered weird if you look at it at first glance, and yet some of it is worth millions of dollars. And people value that weirdness. There's some value to it. The second roadblock I had to face down, it's not logical. This has nothing to do with Father's Day. But I managed to make it work. I realized there is some logic. If you peel back the layers, there is some logic to this soft, cuddly little creature. because it just seemed like a cute mascot for a father and baby. And that's what I ended up doing. I did a father with his baby elephant shrew riding like a little backpack on top of his back. And it worked out. There was a logical connection there. And finally, I've got better ideas. I know I have ideas beyond this one. And this was the hardest because I did have a lot of ideas, but what I learned is that it mattered more what I felt. How excited was I to do whatever idea popped into my mind? And I was excited for this weird shrew for some bizarre reason. So I wanted to share this because sometimes I have struggled with this myself. I don't know what speech I'm going to write. Maybe I'm trying to write something for work or any other creative endeavor. And I try to remember those 3 roadblocks and how to overcome them. So next time when you're thinking about writing a Toastmasters speech and you say to yourself, I don't know what to do, these ideas are weird, etc., just remember my elephant shrew greeting card. And I guarantee you that your idea will sound pretty darn good. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Vanessa. Wow. First of all, I love your elephant shrew drawing. You're an amazing, talented artist, and I'm so glad you shared that story with us. Super cool that you create your own greeting cards. How special is that for the people in your life? And I love how you overcame all of the obstacles, and it ties in nicely with the don't knows. You didn't know where you were going, but you just went with your gut feeling. And I think a lot of times we dismiss what feels good just because we're taught to value logic over heart. But as you said, there's a lot of things that don't make sense perhaps at first glance in the art world, but they're high value pieces and people connect to them. And I really connected to your story. So thank you for sharing it with us this evening.
Thank you.
And now I would like to call on Jamie for a timers report.
Yes. All right. Congratulations to both of our speakers for maintaining their composure through the speeches. Lon came in at 5 minutes and 16 seconds and did qualify. And Vanessa came in at 6 minutes and 32 seconds and also qualified. So congratulations both.
Thank you. Now we have the impromptu portion of the evening. It's open to both Toastmasters and any of the guests willing to participate. So I'm going to turn it over to Jenny, who is our table topics master tonight.
Thank you, Natalie. My name is Jenny, and I'm going to be your table topics master for this evening. Table topics is the portion of the meeting where members or guests are invited up, and I'll ask a question, and you have 1 to 2 minutes to answer. There's a timer there, so when the light turns green, that's 1 minute, and when it turns red, that's 2 minutes. It's meant to be very casual. Just speak authentically and answer the question. No pressure, although it's impromptu. And at this point, I would like to ask for a volunteer. Oh, okay, great. Come up. I didn't catch your name. Can't see. Joel. Joel's going to be our first table topics, and I'll ask the question and then I'll just move over so you can answer. Was there ever a time in your life, could be school, work, or a path you were going to embark on where you didn't know the answer, and what did you do to find that solution?
I've been in multiple situations like this at work and outside of work, where as an engineer, I had to troubleshoot certain things. The most recent one that was not work related, but happened on Sunday. I was out at the pool at my apartment complex, and there's this group of 3 people next to the grill, and they were struggling to turn on the grill. So a friend and I start working on it. She tries a few different things, and then she looks at me and was like, "Hey, engineer, go figure out how to turn on this grill." And then I start looking a little further, pressing some buttons that no one else was. We started to see just the spark by itself, but no fire. We then opened the doors at the bottom. I saw one valve that had like an open and close position. That didn't work out. And then I followed this one pipe where I could see there would be the flow of the gasoline, and then I had to like get on my knees and look from beneath, and I found this one knob that had a timer on it showing you could either set it at 60 minutes, 40 minutes, or 20 minutes, and then there was obviously the off position. I just twisted it all the way to 60 minutes. I suddenly hear the fire going on, and then they started cooking from there. But yep, I just did it on the fly, had no clue what was coming up.
Do I have another volunteer for another question, another table topic? Great. Jamal, right? Jalan. Okay, so your question, if you could be granted a superpower to know the answer or outcome of every situation in your life, would you take it? If yes, why? And if no, why not?
Hey, my name is Jalon, and absolutely not, because I feel like the art of surprise is so cool to not know what's going to happen. Because if I know everything's going to happen in my life, why am I living it? You know, like I came here, I know what to expect. I know how big the room was going to be. I know who's going to be here. And to meet y'all, it's cool, you know? So it's the unknown is so cool to know, be unknown about stuff, like going on vacation. You don't know what to expect. You're on a roller coaster. You're eating something for the first time. It's better to not know, be surprised. So your feelings could, you know, so your feelings could, you know, take over to not know what's going to happen next. So like, for example, let's say I'm going to work out because I work out every morning. I'm going to work out. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if I'm going to be able to bench 225, 300. I don't want to know that I could do it ahead of time. If I'm going for a race, I don't want to know I'm going to get first or second place. I want to be in the moment. For example, Toastmaster, I don't remember your name, but I know you were saying about meditation. It's about being in the moment, being in the present moment, not distractions and nothing, not knowing what's going to happen. So it's a great thing to be in the moment. And I feel like knowing what's going to happen, you're not going to be in the moment and just get lost. But thank y'all very much.
Any other volunteers? Question, Daniel? Yeah. Great. Okay, tell me something you don't know how to do currently, but would love to learn one day.
Something I don't know. Let me think. Yeah. So I think that I would like to learn to actually trade options professionally, like hedge funds. And the reason why is because this type of activities give you freedom to live anywhere you want, to do anything you want. And basically, I'm already started learning and I kind of like it. But the thing is, you still need professional tools in order to be able to trade like professional hedge funds, which are not provided for retail traders. So that would be really amazing skill, which I would love to learn in the future. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you to all the volunteers who participated. This is not cooperating. I just wanted to request the timers report. Maybe you have better luck here. I tend to break.
What's the trick, David?
I tend to break things, so.
Doesn't want to stay up. There we go. No, I don't have it, David. All right. Yes, I have the timers report. Joel, congratulations, 1 minute and 53 seconds. Jalan, right? 1 minute and 10 seconds. And Daniel, 43 seconds. All right, back to you, Natalie.
Thank you, Jenny and Jamie, for the table topics and the timers report. It was nice to see a mix of new and old faces from Joel to Jolan and Daniel. Nice to meet and see some of you and to learn more about you through your responses. Now, at this time, we have the evaluation portion of the evening. So I'm going to turn it over to Bailey, who is our general evaluator tonight.
Thanks, Natalie. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. We have 2 evaluations for our speakers, and we'll start with David Jones for the speech number 1.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluating. Greeting fellow Toastmasters and guests. Lon, thank you for allowing me to do the evaluation for you, and you did a really great job. I was kind of surprised. I think a few weeks ago, I asked you to do a table topics, and you're like, no, I don't want to do it. So I was like, I hope she's good in person, but you were great. I mean, you seem very, I don't know if you're comfortable, but you seem very natural, very comfortable and very confident. And when you started, you engaged the audience by asking them questions. And that's always the best thing to do, because otherwise people are just looking around. So when you start asking questions, we have to raise our hands. That's a really great way to start a speech. You did sound very comfortable. I mean, you were just walking back and forth. You were using the whole stage area here just to kind of, I guess, express yourself with your body language instead of just your words. Then you also mentioned that you did some research on the subject, which is always good. You didn't remember where you found it, but at least you did research. So you weren't just shooting from the hip. You were actually doing some research on your subject. And again, you were very personable. Areas where I would have some improvement was, since you're a few inches shorter than me, maybe you needed to, angle down the camera a little bit before you got started, because we can only see the top of your head, which Sean used to always have that problem. We could only see the top of Sean's head, but now, as you can see, I don't know if you guys can see him, we can see him really well. So that would be number 1. And the other thing was the microphone makes us feel like we don't have to project as much. So everybody on Zoom could hear you, but we in the back were having a hard time because you were just comfortable with the microphone, but you still have to project to the audience. And finally, the only area that I would have to challenge you is you were comfortable using the stage, but to walk out into the audience, so walk around and come out here. Now, Zoom can hear you, but that's their problem because they're on Zoom and they're not here in person. So, but you want to engage the audience because that's how you're going to do it at work and in meetings, is to come out there. And other than that, I thought you did a really great job. I'm really happy that you came here and gave it in person because I know it's kind of scary. And I look forward to your next speech. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, David. We'll move over to our evaluator for speech number 2, which is Sean.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Thank you, everybody. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I am Sean, and I'm evaluating Vanessa's speech tonight, which, Vanessa, thank you for letting me evaluate your speech. For a green hand like me, evaluating a very experienced speaker like you is pretty challenging for me, but I will try to do my best. First, I think you did really well on the topic. Really, like when I saw this title, I had no idea like what you're going to talk about, but I guess it should be something fun, which you really did a good job starting with the riddle, trying to read through all the questions to get everybody engaged, and immediately grab everybody's attention and we'll start thinking about what it looks like, and boom, you just throw out the answer that surprised everybody. That right? So, and that's not the only one, right? Like you don't just ask the question for the sake of asking questions. You actually use that, right? That's like a theme of your whole speech, that kind of like a needle that just threads right throughout this whole speech. It kind of leads from one topic to another to go through, like help you tell the story of the 3 roadblocks, right, that you're trying to overcome in making your father stage cards. And eventually you came up with a really good idea, the elephant shoe, and I think you should really patent it. And that visual aid really helped. Like I really like it. And And overall, I mean, as an experienced speaker like you really did, like, you feel really comfortable. I only wish I can get comfortable like that someday. And you maintain really good composure and making really good transitions, right, from one to the other. So the story just flows and everybody still follows you through the end. And then in the end, right, this speech is not only just about informational, it's also inspirational, which is like you encourage everybody to come up with new ideas, even if you have no ideas at the very beginning, right? If you try at the end, eventually you will connect the dots, just like the elephant shoe that you come up with. So I really like your topic overall today. And as for the areas for improvement, I think you could probably consider using more of increase your vocal variety a little bit more. That just like, oh, you're hitting a roadblock and just feel like, come on, something like that. I know, don't take me as an example. I'm not a good actor. All right, and then eventually when you come up with that Alvin Shoe idea, that I think you can use more excitement, so to get everybody more engaged from there. And overall, I think you can also maybe use the space a little bit more. Like when you have, I know you're on Zoom, it's probably more difficult for you just to show your masterpiece. But if you have something really right printed out and just like, boom, hanging here, look at this, I made this. So I think that overall could really help your storytelling become more dynamic. So that's probably what I would do. And yeah, thank you for this great story and really inspiring thought. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for that evaluation. Now we'll move over to a timers report for the evaluators.
Before I hand it over to Jamie, I'm going to cheat and just say that Lon had very good composure in her speech. Doesn't count. All right.
All right, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. We had David come in at 2:08, so David qualified, and Sean come in at 3:48, so a little above the target. But great job, both.
Thank you for that timers report. I guess I'll give my evaluation of the meeting as a whole. For starters, the meeting started on time, which is great. I loved the theme. It really had some great insight as to the reason why you chose the theme and gave a great explanation as to the topic as a whole. I liked how you, Nathalie, engaged with the audience, asking a question, getting everyone involved. I liked that in the beginning. In terms of structure of the whole meeting as a whole, it really flowed. There was really great transitions into each of the different topics and fell into sequence, which is really good. The speakers did a fabulous job. I loved Lon's speech on stress and how it actually there can be positives to stress, as well as Vanessa. I have never heard of this animal, but it was great to hear your story and how to overcome roadblocks. And I loved how it sort of connected with the theme. And in general, both of those speeches qualified, which is great to see. And then in terms of the table topics, there were really great questions, and we had all our guests sort of participate, which was great to see. And like I said, some great themes with what the I don't know theme is about. And then finally, just the evaluations, they were great feedbacks, had some positives and some areas of improvement. So overall, I would say this was a really great meeting. I don't really have any things that you could do differently. I think overall, everyone did a great job at how it all played out this week. So that's all I have today. And I will move over to our grammarian for a report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So I'll now read out usage of improper filler words and where people were able to use the word of the day. David, you had 2 ums, 1 1 and illegal usage of word of the day. Nathalie, you had no filler words and you used the word of the day. Elvis had no filler words. Jamie had 1 and used the word of the day. Lan had no filler words. Vanessa used the word of the day. She also had 1 you know and 1 kinda, and I particularly enjoyed Vanessa's introduction of the word doldrums. Any kind of old C word I'm a big fan of and just doesn't get used often enough. Jenny had 1 and 2 us. Sean had 2 us, 2 ums, 3 likes, and 2 ands. Joanne, our guest, had 1 little stutter in the beginning and then 2 you knows. Joel had 5 ums, 6 us, and 1 like. Daniel had 1 and 2 us. And Bailey had 8 ums and 4 us. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you. We'll move it on over back to Nathalie.
Thank you, Bailey and Sean, David, and Stuart, and Jamie as well for the timers report. I appreciate everyone's participation. We don't always know how these meetings are going to go and who's going to show up. And I think we've had great participation this evening. We're actually quite a bit ahead of schedule, which is surprising, considering that we had 2 speeches. And so I don't know if David wants to do awards. I know we haven't been doing polls, but okay.
Okay, usually we do polls either on there or we have the little things, but we haven't been doing them. We've been slacking, so we haven't had ballot counters. Therefore, I just kind of like to throw it out there and give the awards myself. It's one of the joys. Elvis did it last week. He got to present to whoever he thought, and he did very good. Everybody was a tie, but tonight we're not going to do a tie. So I'm going to give our table topics to everybody who did them. And let me walk out here. They can't see me. So congrats on doing their table topics. You get a ribbon. And Joel, you probably did like 26 of them. He's an old member, Joel. And then we go to our best evaluator. And I believe Sean was overtime, which means by default I won, right? He was overtime, right? Yeah, okay. So I won, yay me. And then our best speakers was actually a tie. It went to Vanessa, so here's Vanessa. And then also for Lon, who's in person. So yay, Lon, congrats. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. See, we didn't know how that was going to go either, but everyone is a winner tonight. Even you, who never wins anything. David never gives himself awards because he's the president, so he just by default omits himself. So it was nice to see him celebrate himself. Well, with that, I think I'm going to give us back some time this evening to wrap up early. Before I conclude the meeting, I did want to share that one of the unknowns on the horizon is that we are planning or trying to plan a group gathering for the club. I know many of us have met on Zoom and some of us have started coming back in person. And so we were trying to host a social in the next few weeks. And if you remember, I sent out an email earlier today with a survey just to gauge everyone's comfort level, because there are a lot of unknowns during this time, a lot of uncertainty. And so we want to make sure that everyone does feel good about gathering and about the dates and location. So if you haven't already, please take the time to complete the survey, and that'll help inform when we're meeting. So far, from what I've seen, the popular date seems to be Tuesday, August 24th, which is 2 weeks from now. And our gathering would be replacing our weekly meeting. So we wouldn't have a meeting that week. We would be gathering for food, fun, and friendship. And
I knew you were going to say that. But we do have another guest who came in a couple minutes late. I didn't get to introduce them. So if you can see the club view, I didn't know if you wanted to introduce yourself and let us know how you heard about Toastmasters.
Sure. Hey, fellow Toastmasters. My name is Dave Llewellyn, and I think this is actually my second time. I came maybe 2 years ago. It's been a long time, and certainly COVID in between. So great to be back, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. And I want to go to find out what you think about the meeting. It's been a few years since you've been at Toastmasters. What do you think about the hybrid and how it worked out?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the meeting. The tabletop just threw me off because when I did it, they said it and like they called each person to do it. So like knowing it a second before I went on kind of threw me off. The hybrid was kind of cool to see the speeches and you know people here. It's cool. I like how they blend in both of them.
Thought it was great. I actually did Toastmasters 4 years ago, so I'm happy to be back and happy to see people are practicing themselves to become a better speakers. So that's great, and thank you very much. So.
I'll admit, with the hybrid, when I first came up in front of the computer, it was kind of very easy to stare in the computer and not realize about the crowd around. So next time I come up, I'll probably have to think about that side of it too.
Well, perfect. So we'll be here again next Tuesday for everybody who wants to come. And I guess we had a great Toastmaster because we finished early, so I appreciate it. Is there any other officer announcements before we close it out? No, the doggy. Yes, Elvis.
Yes, I have two things very quickly. Any of the members needing any help with pathways and deciding what to do as part of the projects to continue on their pathways selected, or needs any help selecting the pathways, or actually preparing the speeches and volunteering for roles, know that you can always reach out to us. Especially you can reach out to myself, and I'll be available to basically get into any time slot that works out for both, and we can go over any help, any assistance that you might need. And also, David, if you can, that's something that we can try doing from now on, is to try to fill out the roles for the next meeting. Any of the members on site, if you can look at any possibilities of, if you haven't signed up for the role for next week, then we'd like to encourage everyone to volunteer for roles. So those online, go into our site and enroll. And those that are on site, please, you can talk to David and also try to get the role signed up for next week if possible. Back to you, David.
Thank you. And with that, I'll put her on the spot. Jenny, do you want to try Toastmaster next week? No. Oh, are you doing the icebreaker next week or either? Okay. Because if you're Toastmaster, you just follow the. All right. So we have Jenny, who's going to be our Toastmaster. So good advice, Elvis. And then from there, everybody else will fill in the roles. I appreciate it. Jenny was Toastmaster or Table Topics tonight. That was her first time, and then she'll be Toastmaster next week. And with that, I will close out the meeting and have a good night, everybody. Appreciate it.
Good night.